Hi, welcome everyone to Stu's DIY. Today we're going to be cutting up a tree that fell down the past week or so. We had some heavy winds here in the Midwest area. I think they reached around 70-80 miles an hour at times. Anyways, a tree here next to my shop blew down and caused the tree to thankfully miss the garage shop area and fall into the yard. So today we're going to go over kind of your do it yourself for cutting up the tree. So some of the things that for your do it yourself homeowners is a sawzall, right? They come in handy for many various things, but in this application for trimming branches or cutting off branches or for cutting off branches, or basically a little safer method versus a chainsaw if you don't have one, or don't necessarily have the means to go get one. You can use a sawzall, whether it be corded or cordless. Obviously you do have your standard metal blade here, but you don't necessarily have to go with Milwaukee. You can use DeWalt, Ryobi, anything that your local hardware store or Home Depot or Menards has. So there's that. And also, if you want to get one that's a little bit more aggressive, they do have the pruning blade from Milwaukee itself. It works real well for obviously just pruning trees or bushes around your house. Those pesky weeds or the weeds that grow up by a tree stump there. This works real well. If you're moving on to more of a, I guess somebody that might have some acreage, or someone that has a farm or different things, and let's say you ask him to borrow his chainsaw for that matter. One of the chainsaws that I chose today was the Stihl MS 311, and I've had this now for approximately 10 years or so. I used to own some property closer to where my folks live, and I use this to clear a bunch of brush, cut some trees down, just maintain it, try to get it opened up. One of the safety items I would like to note, if you were using a chainsaw, are chainsaw chaps. These are a lifesaver, right? Because we only have one leg, and if you're doing some cutting out by yourself, it can be real dangerous if you nick your leg with a sawzall or a handsaw, or even for that matter a chainsaw, right? Because it's hot, we all get fatigued, and that one slip, if you're super fatigued, could be a life-threatening situation. So chainsaw chaps are super important, and they help protect your knees if you're kneeling down or in rocks or dirt or some uneven terrain. If you don't have the means to necessarily get a chainsaw and some chaps, obviously just your basic PPE is super important. We have to wear them at work all the time: earplugs, earphones, safety glasses, and gloves. So for the basics of cutting, with a sawzall, it's still important to at least have gloves and some safety glasses on, so you don't get sawdust in your eyes or cut your fingers or anything of that matter. So anyways, let's get into it and let's cut up a tree. All right guys, welcome back. Come in a little closer. Welcome back to Stu's DIY. We're all set up here with the basic homeowner setup here. Just a sawzall, whether it be cordless or corded, will work, and a pruning blade or wood blade. So the one thing that's important to note is, since your tree limbs are just kind of hanging, they're not supported, the one thing I do want to show you is some of the proper ways to kind of trim some of these branches so it doesn't get stuck and you don't get hurt along the way. So we have our safety glasses on, put our hearing protection on, which sawzall is not horribly loud, but never hurts. So when you cut a branch, most of the weight is hanging, right? So it's gonna wanna split when we start cutting, as you'll see. So you cut it, and you see how it opened up here. So with that opening up, it's not going to allow your saw to pinch. All right guys, if it pinches in here, it could cause kickback or whatnot. So like I said, well, let's do it again. Now granted, this is a real short piece, but it should just fall away, no issue. So we'll move out to a little higher. And now as you see, it's falling down. And it's always important to note too, let's cut this one off, that if it's real loose like this, you can hold it here, but you want to stand out of the way of the saw. That way, if it falls, you're not going to cut your leg, even with chaps on or without chaps. So, purpose, you can just keep going and keep sawing. So let's move up to the chainsaw. It's a little faster and it'll help us, you know, clean this up a little quicker. So let's move forward into the chainsaw. All right, guys, welcome back to the chainsaw side of things. We just discussed how to use a cordless cordless sawzall or battery operated sawzall. So now we're going to move up to more of the commercial aspect of the do-it-yourself homeowner. A lot of people here in the Midwest do have chainsaws. Milwaukee does make a cordless chainsaw if you guys want to check it out. It's pretty neat, super lightweight. But for this purpose here, we're gonna fire up the chainsaw. I do have my leg chaps on. I have my hearing protection built into my helmet. I also have safety glasses on for the fine stuff that make it through the, you know, the head covering, so to speak. So, all right, let's get into it. Fire up. The same applies when you're cutting with a chainsaw as a sawzall. Most of the weight of the limb is still hanging in the air. So if you cut right here, it's just slowly going to fall away. There's no real potential for pinching. Now, for example, like this one here is on the bottom. So most of the weight is being pushed up. So if I just cut in the top here, it's going to automatically pinch the saw. So this will be where the undercut comes into play. I'll show you that here. Note, it's very important to take your time. You know, if you get tired, get fatigued in your arms or anything, just take a little break, hydrate, and you know, go back to it when you can. But no sense getting hurt over something like a tree laying in your yard. Obviously, if you can afford it, have somebody else come clean it up for you, but that's not how we do it around here. So yeah, like, subscribe. Thanks for following along.